Good evening, sunshines. We are here, hopefully. Adam, everything good?
Everything looks great.
The way you were holding your face made it look like the screen was like frozen. We are going to talk to you tonight about all things gardening. We also have some life and pregnancy updates. And Eugene is, of course, joining us back there. So 10 points for every Eugene sighting as we're here. But first and foremost, we, as lazy gardeners, are coming into peak gardening season. But if you are like the many people I've talked to in the last few weeks thinking you're already behind, you're already too late, let me just tell you right now, you're not actually too late. In fact, most places you're still too early, and we'll talk about why we say that. And with that said, I will also say that we're asking you to give us all of your gardening questions today.
I'll be doing moderating.
Adam will do his best to read
I'll
and
do my
talk
best.
at the same time.
I'm going to try to read the comments as they come in here and then capture them here. But if I miss them, I apologize.
Well, also, I wanted to say, too, that we may or may not be able to get to all the questions today, but please do leave them in the comments because this is a speak now or forever hold your peace kind of thing for this gardening season because this is a major milestone day. Today we're 32 weeks pregnant, which means that we are fast approaching the time we won't be able to be making videos anymore. So questions we don't get to today.
Temporarily making videos.
Oh yeah, well sorry, thank you for the clarification. I mean for literally just maternity leave. But so the questions we don't get to today, we will do our very best to answer in upcoming videos. So if you have like video suggestions, topics that you're just still super confused about, this is your chance to get it on our radar so that we make sure we cover that. And we will.
I will say we do have videos coming.
We
Several
have
videos
actually for the first time since 2.5 years of working together, we are more ahead than we've ever been.
We have 3 videos filmed.
And that said, this is a soft request for someone who has video editing experience. We are looking for a video editor.
In Nashville.
So.
This is quite a big qualification.
It is. It's like, well, but maybe someone knows somebody, and this is a great way to get to discuss that. Anyway.
Yes.
For those of you who were trying to join us yesterday, thank you so much for being really good at being an eager little beaver. I have to personally apologize for the fact that we had to cancel it last minute because we had some of our very favorite gardeners that we were excited to have join us on the live, but due to the fact that I have just now transitioned into the part of pregnancy where I actually feel good and want to do things, I have characteristically overdone it, and I could not hold my eyes open to do it last night, so we had to cancel it. But if you guessed that our secret guest that was going, wow, that was not intentionally rhyming, but if you did guess that our favorite gardeners that were joining us over the weekend were Black's Tropical Homestead, you would be correct. But I'm sad to say that they are now back home in Savannah and we are here in Nashville, Tennessee. So, sorry about that. I overdid it because I was too excited to try to get Adam's banana trees planted, which, by the way, we're going to talk more about that too.
Yes, definitely. Very excited about that.
So I massively overdid it yesterday and have been basically laying around like a little potato all day today. I can see Eugene's little tushy back there, and it makes me so happy.
The real star of the live stream.
The real star. Okay, so we're so glad you're all here. Thank you so much for sharing your... Is it Sunday today?
It is Sunday.
Oh, good. Tomorrow's Monday, which means we've got lots on the agenda as we continue to pre-plan our life for upcoming baby shenanigans. So, let's hear.
Do we hear some questions?
I'm ready for a garden question.
All right. Tab P says, "What if I didn't cold stratify seeds long enough? Will at least some of them germinate?"
Oh, I didn't even figure out about cold stratification until 5 years in, and I still planted lots of things successfully. So if you haven't cold stratified your seeds, just try putting them in the ground. Cold stratification maybe increases your chances of pollination or germination. Let's use the correct word, germination, by like a few percentage points. It's not like an extremely necessary endeavor.
Bella Braz asks, I think you talked me out of a nectarine tree, but if I do go forward, is it okay to transplant after flowering?
Absolutely. You're always going to be better off to transplant your trees when the tree is dormant. However, there are always exceptions to every rule. I mean, heck, we just visited our farm in Seattle and brought home all kinds of we smuggled home, which this is a really funny story, a whole bunch of plants that were already, no longer dormant, and they're thriving. So as long as you care for it and you think about like trying to reduce as many stressors as possible, go for it. Make sure its roots aren't girdled. That's the most important thing.
Gavin McKee asks, how do you deal with green worms on kale?
Oh, they're probably cabbage worms, and cabbage worms are a real bummer. A few options are to use neem oil, which is organic, OMRI certified, still okay to use, and those kinds of things. But to be totally honest, the best way around them is to pick them off, and then if you must preserve your kale, cabbage, etc., crops, to use the little white cloth, because really a lot of those things come from cabbage moss, those little white moths you see flying around. And once they get a hold on, it's really hard to get rid of them. So that's why you'll see commercial farms and stuff with the little white fabric tunnels. It's not actually for heat, it's for worms. And also flea beetles and all kinds of other pests that would get your brassicas.
Brassica is my favorite word.
That is one of the... Adam has recently self-proclaimed himself to be a gardening expert because he's watched more Ann of All Trades videos more times than anyone else.
It's true.
And so I guess that like unintentionally gives me gardening expertise.
That's right.
I'll put that feather in my cap. A compliment from Adam is a rare and beautiful thing. He does not offer a false compliment, let's put it that way.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I try my best.
Well, but it's whenever I get a compliment from you, I know that you really, really mean it.
That is true. Jim N asks, you do a great job at gardening for those that have space, but what about for those, you're going to like this question, that are limited to porches or small raised beds that want to grow some veggies and herbs?
This is actually one of my favorite questions because I got my start in a very, very small space. In fact, I use this analogy probably way too much, but I spent most of my young life living in Asia, and you would not believe the amount of food that people grow on balconies and rooftops. Like, people don't have yards there, like on their kitchen sinks and things like that. So the advice I have is use whatever space you have, get started. If the dream is someday to have more space, great, but don't wait until you have that space to actually start using it. Like, use what you got now, learn your lessons, make your mistakes, and then if and when you do have the chance to do it on a larger scale, great. Also, a shameless plug for our video that we are finishing filming tomorrow. It is about how to pick the proper plants from a nursery and how to transplant them with the highest success rate. And in that video, I'm actually going to show planting into some packing totes that are still left over from our move here to Nashville, because I have a little herb garden outside of our kitchen that I use because I always forget to pick herbs, and I'm always like, you need to put your stuff where you're actually going to use it. And the house is a really long way away from the garden, so planting in that little tiny space, you'll get to see what a little tiny
That's right.
and garden will look like.
Super fun video. We filmed it actually at the nursery, which is cool. We've been saying...
The plant nursery, we should say. Now we're going to have to start making that distinction.
That is
Huzzah!
true. But yeah, we've been saying we've been wanting to do like more videos off the farm, and this is kind of an extension of that. Actually,
this will be two videos.
Two videos off the farm. We'll talk about that a little bit.
We actually have a video coming out. It's not... This next video will be the nursery video. not our baby nursery, the plant nursery distinction. Yay. But then the video after that is we went back to Seattle and we were able to go back to our old farm and film a video there. And prior to our trip back to Seattle, we did not know if we were going to actually be able to film there or like even do anything more than just show up. But the new owners were so gracious and so generous with us and allowed us to,
like, ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculously nice. And so we were actually able to go and film there for almost 2 full days.
We were probably there for like 6 hours total.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was cool.
It was super, super fun, and I cannot wait to show you those videos. Actually, feels like a nice sequitur to just say that, like, I mean, we've shared pretty openly with you all about how tough the last few years have been, and also just like how we like, you know, like one of the reasons Adam quit his job is because our marriage wasn't doing well and he wanted to put his full focus at home. And you know, like things were really, really rocky when we started working together. It was probably like a step too late, but we made it. Here we are, and things have gotten so much better due to a lot of work on both of our parts, I think.
Yeah.
That like every video, like, and this like the marriage stuff, I feel like is like a outpouring of the rest of it. But like every video we've made recently, like we finished filming it and both of us are like, we think this might have been the best video we've ever made, and we genuinely are so excited about especially the next upcoming several videos because
I think we're having a lot of fun now.
For the first time. Which is great. We'll take it.
Yeah, not all the time. It's not easy working with your spouse. I'll just say that. I don't think that's like breaking news, but I think that we've been having a lot of fun this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to some of these videos.
Yes, very much so. So.
Let's see. Mark D. Maker, have you ever tried grafting fruit trees?
Yes, actually. So if you check out our most recent video, it's called Potted Fruit Trees Are a Ripoff.
We just sounded like those Australian twins.
Adam and I have a somewhat twisted sense of humor sometimes.
It's a viral video at this point. I think people know.
He sent me this video and he's like, nothing will ever prepare you for what's going to happen 20 seconds into this video. And it's these like identical twins. From
Queensland.
Australia.
Yeah.
Who are finishing each other's. I thought you were already
sentences.
Sentences. Yeah. Anyway, It's really great.
Anyways, there's some conversation about chickens and ducks, but
I like snuck a peek at one comment from someone who said that they're planting 100 tomato plants, and I am very interested to know more about those 100 tomato plants and why. Like, is this a commercial operation? Is this a home operation? Are you aware that tomatoes get really big and also that they produce a lot of tomatoes? If you're, did you see that? Or is that just my dyslexia playing tricks on me?
I'm like still catching up.
Well,
any advice for keeping flea beetle off my container potatoes? For mindless manpower.
I mean, you could try. Like, I mean, flea beetles are such a pain in the butt. But here's the thing. Actually, my best advice about flea beetles, which it sounds like it's already too late for you to follow, is to wait. And so, like I said at the beginning of the live stream, that if you feel like you're already late, you're probably not. Because, post move to Tennessee, there are so many more pests, garden pests here, than I ever experienced gardening in anywhere else. And so, like, I had experienced flea beetles to a degree, cabbage worms and things to a degree, but never had I experienced the pests to the degree that I have here. So my, amended advice since we've moved here about things is to plant things later to avoid the peak season of those pests. And flea beetles are a real pest in the early gardening season. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, the leaves of a plant are the solar panels that collect the energy of the sun. And when there's less hours of sunlight in the day, like the doubling power of the or the collection power of the solar panels is not as much. So like your plant's doubling rate is much slower earlier in the season. So if there is early pest damage, it will be much more detrimental to your plant than if you just plant a few weeks later. There's Eugene. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. She has a shaving stuck to her face. She's very cute. Ah, so cute. I love seeing her walk around that corner. Anyway, but yeah, so my best advice is to, like, if you don't have any way to, put any kind of shroud around your plant to protect it from the flea beetles, then my next best advice would be maybe cut your losses and plant again in a few weeks. Like, you could even, like, if it's in a container, you could bring it inside for a little bit. I mean, you can always bring the vacuum out, look like a insane person and vacuum those flea beetles off the plants. I'm a big fan of doing that. But yeah, flea beetles are a real pest if you plant too early, especially. So
I think I found the tomato comment.
Oh, great.
So Jennifer Mackin, sorry if I pronounced any of these names wrong. I'm planting 100 tomatoes this year, 9 varieties. Some are heirloom, OP. I don't know. You know what that means?
Full disclosure, I don't recognize that.
And some are hybrids. Should I keep the hybrids separate from the heirlooms if I plan on saving seeds?
Oh, that is a good question. And here's the thing. I have no problem admitting when I don't really know. So I would say I don't really know how you would actually keep them separate, because bees and other pollinators generally have a 6-mile flying radius, so the chances for cross-pollination are kind of...
Open-pollinated.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I saw a ton of people just answer.
The chances for cross-pollination is kind of high anyway. And to be totally honest, I don't ever... I personally, it is nice to protect some things that, one way that you can protect your flowers, specific flowers, from not getting pollinated is to put genuinely to put a little baggie around that one, and then be very careful about labeling it well, and then collecting the seeds only from that particular tomato later on. But I will say that I am not going to answer this super confidently, because I don't really care about that stuff. I'm always actually intentionally crossbreeding things, looking for the most vigorous, best producing, wanting to have the most disease resistant everything. And I truly don't really care about hybridization and things like that because of that. But that is also a personal preference. I'm not really in the seed collecting or seed sharing game. So I generally don't even participate in seed swaps and stuff, because I feel like I will befuddle someone's precious collection with my weird hybridized things.
It's a lot of tomatoes.
Yeah, that's going to be so many tomatoes. How big is your garden? Just out of curiosity. That's I will preface this with also saying that my favorite lazy gardening tip whenever I talk about tomato growing is that I only plant my favorite tomato, which is super sweet 100s, in my garden, and then I have an ongoing years-long barter going with my neighbor who raises stuff the same way we do, but for a CSA. And so in that, I don't have to spend my entire gardening season trellising, trimming, taking care of my tomatoes. I literally just reserve a weekend and tell him I want 6 flats of tomatoes so that I can do all my canning in a weekend, and then I provide him with a lot of raw milk. And Eugene is just doing a little redecorating back there. No problem. Everything's fine.
Gnawing.
She's chewing on her box that I brought her down here in.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about how last...
Oh! Yeah. Okay. This is a quick... While you catch up on comments, I will tell you about the most precious thing that happened last live stream that none of you got to find out about because, I realized it afterwards. But anyway, Eugene, love of my life, bunny. Sorry, I was kind of pointing it at him, so I don't want to confuse that here. The most precious little bun back there. I forgot to bring her litter box down here when we were doing our live last time. And I was like, I realized during the live, I was like, ooh, like, I hope she doesn't go potty or anything while we're down here. But also, I have a concrete floor, and this is, in fact, a barn, so it's not the end of the world. But I was cleaning up after the live and literally moved something out of the way of my dustpan. And would you not believe it, but Eugene, that perfect little polite lady, went potty in the dustpan because she had to go and she didn't have her litter box. And I was like, could I love her more? The answer is probably not.
Simply Barba asks, I started wood chip garden last year in Pennsylvania and wanted to know, when I transplant my seedlings, should I direct sow or do I need to add potting soil with it because the ground is a bit dense and wet?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm not sure if this fully answers your question, but hopefully it does. My, once we've already added mulch and it's there, like you've got bigger wood chips, sometimes it's really hard to get seeds to germinate in that stuff. So what I do when I'm planting little seedlings and trying to get them to germinate in the garden beds that have already been mulched for a season or 2 or 3 or however many, what I do is I use a rake to rake that back. I usually re-amend my beds with compost every year also, so some of them have already been exposed with two more compost. So anyway, I rake the mulch back and will often add some, nice new compost to germinate my seeds in. But even if you don't add more compost, it's totally fine to just rake that top layer back temporarily, let your seedlings get established, and then start scooching that mulch back up around them so that you can get the benefits of all the reasons we use mulch in the first place.
Kristen Williams says, mushroom question, Morels. I'm guessing they meant Morels.
Yes.
Any tips on finding them? I was told look for old elm trees, but found lots of elm trees today with no Morels. How do you spell Morels?
Morrels.
That's how I thought. Okay.
So hilariously, look at my overalls. Oh, this is two sub stories for this. First of all, we can all admire the fact that my belly's getting so big I can almost not fit through my door over there. But I also have a pro tailoring tip. I call myself Ann Taylor now. That's a fashion joke. Oh, Eugene's here. Anyway, a simple hair tie can turn but any garment into a maternity garment with, because of the stretchiness. So she's so cute. Okay, but the reason that the Morel question reminded me of my overalls and my Ann Taylor suggestion is because my overalls are mushroom overalls, which I get no end of enjoyment from. Oh, good. She's eating my handmade broom. Love that for us. Well, feast, I guess, since I can do nothing about it. All right. So in answer to your question about Morels, I have an answer that's kind of a non-answer because Morels are very mercurial little beasts. They are very hard to predict where they're going to grow. I will give all this with a caveat that I actually am on the verge of figuring out a way to cultivate Morels in a homestead setting. So please stay tuned for that because I've made some very interesting discoveries with this. But Morels, by elm trees could be, sure. But also by fruit trees could be, sure. Also, potentially on the edges of forests. Also, could be after a forest fire or after land has been destroyed. In fact, in Montana, where we have had the most success always consistently with that, is in a after a forest fire is the best place to go and find Morels. And that's literally because the soil's been disturbed. Oh my gosh, she's sitting on top of her box now. This is very cute. Sorry, you can't see it. The soil has been disturbed. The fungal particles have been aerosolized by the fire, which means that they spread a lot more. They can fall in a much larger area. all these things. But the real things for morels that are actually important is they start showing up when the soil temperature is 50 degrees, and they stop showing up when the soil temperature has reached 70 degrees. And so there is a short window. In some places that's both in the fall and the spring, but the best places to look are around all kinds of different trees, but they don't actually grow on the wood, so you don't want to actually look directly at the tree. You want to look in the 6 feet surrounding the tree. Where soil has been disturbed, hilariously, one of the funniest places I ever found, one of the largest morels. Good night, Eugene. She really wants to be a star tonight. One of the funniest places I ever found a morel mushroom was actually in a piece of rotting carpet in our backyard in Washington, which was covered in rotting carpet. Anyway, but yeah, so the non-answer answer is that morels are the funniest mushroom because they are the most unpredictable of all the mushrooms. Like, I could tell you all day long where to find a chanterelle run, how to find which trees to look for, and everything else like that. I mean, I can tell you I've never found a morel by a cedar tree.
That's bunny is making a lot of noise.
Yes. Eugene is actually going through kind of a funny
terrible twos
right now. Yesterday she literally jumped all the way up onto the couch, but then she got stuck there, and so she was frustrated that we wouldn't help her down. And then she jumped on our record pile, and she was really just showing off. Anyway.
Amy Jensen asked, well, actually, no, first of all, I saw a few super chats go by. I want to call those out. Thank you so much, Lisa Gibbs.
Oh.
This is for the baby.
Thank you.
And Jill O'Brien.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Lisa.
And then a question, kind of a cold weather gardening question. Amy Jensen asked, do you have any cold weathering tips from your time in Montana and seemingly Seattle? Do you think no-till still works for those who have short gardening seasons?
Oh, absolutely.
Congratulations on the baby.
Wow, so much packed into one comment. Yeah, absolutely. I think no-till works everywhere. And cold garden things, there's all kinds of things you can do. If you start getting into composting, one of my favorite things about compost in general is that compost generates a lot of heat. So if you can put your compost pile if you have an upright compost pile like what I have, you can get a couple polycarbonate panels and put a garden bed off the back of your compost pile and let your compost pile actually heat the interior air of your compost there. You can use milk jugs as little terrariums over your plants. Cut your milk jugs in half, and you've got a vent cap if you want to use the tops, or if you want to use the tops and the bottoms, you just have to remember to vent them if it gets warm outside. You can you can also do you can do in-ground raised beds that have a little lid on them, because if you go about a foot deep into the ground, you're going to have an ambient temperature kind of no matter where you are. So if you can figure out a way to literally go deep. You could also plant compost down below your garden soil and then let the decomposing matter heat the soil above it. Charles Dowding talks a lot about that in his No Dig book. Yeah. Cold weather, short season stuff is really, really tricky to go around, but, where there's a will, there's a way. Shoot, my friend Kelly, our friends Kelly and Steven that live in Alaska that have a month and a half long growing season, have figured out how to,
Alaska.
Yeah, have figured out how to garden really well. I mean, they do have a greenhouse. Obviously, if a greenhouse is a possibility, I'm a huge fan of upcycling and recycling. And if you are get on your Buy Nothing page on Facebook, you can probably find the materials to make some sort of rinky-dink greenhouse. Yeah.
Lillian Wojciechowski Sorry if I didn't say that right. Sorry, not a gardening question, but will there be another farm tour video soon? I love your wonderful updates, and they're truly my fave videos.
Oh, I love that. Yes, we actually have one filmed, and it's in the editing queue right now. So a quick callback to the fact that we're looking for a local Nashville video editor. So if you happen to know of any, let us know. But that'll be out soon.
Yes.
Also, actually, I think that that's a good just sequitur just to say that like we had a long period that was really, really discouraging for us both, where there was like not a lot of progress being made on a lot of different fronts for projects that were going on around. Gene, there she is. I don't know why I get so much joy from having a wild rodent prancing around my home at all times, but I swear this is like the best thing that's happened recently. Anyway, all that to say, we just had some friends come down, Rob Rojas and Alabama Papa Chad. Huge shout out to you for coming down and helping finish my little office remodel. We're working on getting a little baby bedroom upstairs so that we can continue working once little baby comes. Black's Tropical Homestead was just here this last weekend, and they helped us do a major revamp of Adam's Tiki Hut, which is a non-baby essential thing, but like Adam's happiness and satisfaction, and also literally anything that makes him more interested in farming and stuff is always worth investing in.
So we planted 2 banana trees.
Tell us about your new banana endeavor, Adam.
Well, there's 2 of them, and we had to clear a bunch of brush away so that way we made sure they get enough sun because they're full sun.
Yep. What else did you learn?
So they helped us do that. Huge thanks to them.
Yes, huge thanks. We had so much fun also just hanging out with them and talking life and business.
Super fun. And I know they're on the chat now, so hello. And then also today we spent the whole day trying to continue the cleaning of the Tiki Hut area. Did power washing, and you were doing tons of like planting.
Adam also called me in. I want to just point out that like this is the only reason I'm just mentioning this is because I think it's funny, not anything else. But in the middle of a bird flu like endemic sweeping across the nation, I get a call from Adam. Hey, can you please help me with something really quick? And so his pregnant wife had to get up on a ladder to help him remove a bird's nest full of baby birds because somehow a bird had broken through my beautiful craftsmanship on his tiki hut and had made a nest and had actually had babies. And there's a much longer side story we don't need to talk about that involves like me having a really huge amount of experience accidentally killing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of birds.
You tried to rescue them when you were a kid.
When I was a kid, I had no friends, and I was always like looking for like animal friends and things. And so we lived at a basically like in a like community setting where there was dormitories and there was lots of people living in them. Anyway, they would go around with power sprayers and spray the swallows' nests every year off of the eaves of the barn. And I would go around with a little box with a pillow trying to catch all the babies as they would spray them out of the nest. And then I would bring them home and try to nurse them back to health. And I had over 300 baby swallows and like 8 of them lived. So anyway, all that to say, my husband, in the middle of a bird flu crisis, asked his pregnant wife to get up on a ladder and to relocate these baby birds because he didn't want to touch them because they were disgusting.
I didn't want to rob you of your passion, first of all.
That is really thoughtful of you. Thank you. Anyway,
Um,
so we relocated them, and the chances that baby birds will actually survive being relocated is not super high. However, I will say that I did actually see the mom revisit the nest. And I also did learn a thing or two about like relocating babies in all of that accidental murder. Anyway, that was a funny side note.
Mushroom question.
Ooh, I love those.
Nature Nut Math. I also have a mushroom question, if that's okay. How can I force mushrooms to grow in a certain area without buying mushroom kitsch or using those little plate things for the spores. Do I let it compost where I want it to grow?
It depends. For those of you who don't know, have taken a real deep dive into the world of edible mushrooms. And in that, I have been harvesting and cultivating and growing and foraging like 70 some species of mushrooms. All that to say, I would highly it truly does depend on what mushroom you're trying to grow. I will say that there's like a handful of mushrooms that are fairly easy to grow, and the ease of growing is really important, but far more important is like you need to, if like depending on what kind of mushroom you're trying to grow, you have to have the right, it's called substrate, but that's a fancy way of saying like the food that the mushroom eats, because mushrooms are actually the fruiting body of mycelium, which is the white carpet we want in our garden that we always talk about being good. It looks like mold, but don't be worried about it because it's a big helper. But the thing is that the mushroom is actually the result of giving whatever mushroom mycelium, the roots, whatever roots actually need to eat. And so some mushrooms grow on decomposing wood, some mushrooms grow in soil, some mushrooms grow only on specific species of wood, some mushrooms grow, there's mushrooms called primary saprophytes, secondary saprophytes, tertiary saprophytes, so it's like different decomposition stages. I don't want to, get too nerdy about this, but if you tell me what kind of mushrooms you're trying to grow or you would like to grow, I can give you some suggestions. Otherwise, I will highly suggest that if you're interested in mushroom growing at all, really great one to start with is wine caps. That's what I suggest. Oh, look, if I give a thumbs up, it makes a little bubble on the screen. Did you see that? Maybe not. Anyway, it happened for me.
I'll trust you.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so...
Wait. Sorry,
Okay,
let me
go
just
ahead.
finish. So,
Finish
like,
that thought.
wine caps are the ones that I recommend for the garden. And that's because wine cap mycelium is the most aggressive of all of the edible mushroom mycelium. And so, wine cap mushrooms can grow on a bunch of different substrates, straw, wood chips, all kinds of things. And it's much more aggressive than other things. The second easiest mushroom to grow is oyster mushrooms, which grow on decomposing wood matter, but they're a primary saprophyte, so you have to have very fresh wood for them to munch on to actually produce. So, yeah, if we get a specific mushroom question variety, then I can speak more clearly about that. But I will say, those are the two easiest to start with.
I have a question, or not a question, but a comment that I think will lead you to something else. Steve Levinson, I just can't seem to propagate blueberries or muscadine. Help.
Oh, well, with blueberries, some people will tell you to check the pH of your soil, because blueberries they're a little bit more sensitive of a variety, but it could be a pH issue. I will also say that healthy soil matters way more than the pH of your soil. This is an experiment we ran last year. I put wood ashes on my blueberries, which should have had the wrong effect on all the blueberries, but they all thrived regardless because they were in healthy soil. All that to say, and the muscadines, actually this...
Eugene's
Ma'am,
making noises.
we are trying to speak. Shh. Eugene, she's so cute. Muscadines, I actually was under the impression I was growing muscadine grapes, and in our most recent video, I found out that what I thought were muscadine grapes, in fact, were not. And here's the thing, I am never too good or like too proud to say that I don't know or that I was wrong. I actually, like, one of my absolute favorite things about, like, comments, especially when they're, nice, is when someone is actually, like helpful and, like, tells me, hey, you're wrong. and this is why. So anyway, in that video, I was apparently showing what I thought was a muscadine grape, and a lot of people were like, that's not correct. It actually is just another variety of wild grape. I was actually wrong twice, because I also was showing another variety of wild grape that I collected, and someone told me that that was actually a pepper vine. And upon further research, they were correct. And then, hilariously, I was also accidentally right about something else, but for a different reason that also had to do with muscadines. So as it turns out, I can't actually give you any advice about muscadines, because it turns out I'm not growing any. And with the blueberries, I would start with pH, but then I would also say just like really make sure that you're taking good, like you're getting enough of their root system, that they are a very sensitive plant. If you're ever transplanting when the plant is not dormant, you do have to be really careful, just like with a lot of other woody perennials, like fruit trees and the like, to like really reduce the foliage above, or the plant matter that above the soil line that the roots have to support. And beyond that, they really like partial shade. If you're in a hot area, it's sometimes really hard to grow blueberries, especially if you're trying to grow them in full sun. Because if you think about, I always say, let's study the forest. Where do wild blueberries show up in the forest? They show up in the understory of the larger trees. So they get a lot of shade and cool weather.
All right. So we got a super chat here from Chris Conversino.
Oh,
hello,
hey, Chris.
Howdy. Since it's too early to plant our starts, can you please talk about up potting them, or whatever you recommend for starts that can't be planted?
That is also a great question, and it is another one where I would say it kind of depends. There's certain plants that don't want to be like anytime you transplant any plant, whether it be a fruit tree or a little succulent garden plant, you want to be really, really conscious of the fact that every time you move or disturb the roots of a plant in any regard, you are going to set the plant back a little bit. You're going to like stunt the plant a little bit. So there's always a juggling game. Certain kinds of plants have different. Oh, by the way, that's Rachel texting me. So if you wanted to,
no, I got it.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Excellent. Certain kinds of plants want to, like cucurbits, for example, anything in the cucumber family. So squashes, watermelons, cucumbers, all those things, they really, really do not like to be transplanted. They actually really, truly do prefer just to be planted as seeds, but sometimes that's not an option. If you have a short growing season, you have to get something started early. That's totally fine. That said, though, you want to transplant them as few times as possible. And that actually goes for all things. So if you started your starts too early and you're now like, oh my gosh, it's not Mother's Day yet, which pretty much, if you're planting anything before Mother's Day, even if you're in a warm place like here, don't do it. Yeah, you might need to up pot them. And in that, I would put them from the little pot that they're in now to as big a pot as you can possibly put them in by disturbing their roots as absolutely little as possible. Otherwise, if it's something like a tomato, I would personally be a lot more inclined to let it get a little bit taller and leggier, as long as I was like really careful once it comes to transplanting time to like gently, like to soak the roots first and to untangle those roots, because a tall leggy tomato is actually a kind of a huge advantage, because we can take off all of the upper foliage and bury that tomato plant way deeper in the soil if it is tall and leggy, which will then ultimately cause the tomato to grow roots out of all of the little nodules that are little hairs that are on the side of the plant. And in that, if you plant your tomato a little bit later, it's a little bit taller, and you can plant it a little deeper, it's going to self-water, it's going to be able to seek nutrients a whole lot better, it's going to have way less transplant shock, because there's only a tiny little bit of foliage exposed at the top. We talk about this in our next video, so definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, Up potting's okay. It's just that like you don't want to just go incrementally to larger pots. I know that's potentially contrarian advice, but also we're lazy gardeners here. I don't want to like just go size up, and then end up with plants that are totally stunted because I've transplanted them 6 times. I also don't want to transplant anything 6 times.
There you go. Adam Free says, since we're on the mushroom topic, well, we were, do you have a book or app recommendation for Mushroom ID?
Yes. So the app Picture This Mushrooms, it's available from Google, is decent. However, I'm going to say that with the caveat that I never would eat a mushroom that you've only ID'd through an app or a photo. Because there are a lot of lookalike mushrooms, and we're trying not to die while snacking in the forest.
Some of them look pretty similar.
Yeah, and so like, and this is like a funny thing. Like, I was actually really surprised Adam knew what Morels are. It's like obviously he's really paying attention when I'm like, it means a lot. But all that to say that yeah, there's many mushrooms that have lookalikes, and so the best, like, it sounds like doing spore prints. That sounds super, super intimidating. But I kid you not, if you just take a dark colored piece of paper, take a mushroom, set it on it overnight, leave it overnight, and come look at the spore print the next day, that's going to give you a far better indication about what the mushroom is and give you more data to even put into any digital resource or anything than a photo ever could. Because I can't even tell you how many random like people slide into my DMs on Instagram with like a picture from across the yard of a mushroom being like, can I eat this? And I'm like, yeah, go for it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I always say don't do that. But you want to always look at the underside of the mushroom. You want to see what growing conditions the mushroom is in. You want to see what the mushroom looks at from the side, and you want to know what the mushroom looks like on top. But far more importantly, you want to know what the spore print looks like, because even my favorite mushrooms, enoki mushrooms, like I can still from a distance misidentify one of the deadliest mushrooms that exists as that. And the only way you can ever definitively tell the two apart, if you don't have other indications like the growing conditions or the medium that it was growing on and all those things, is the spore print, because enokis have a white spore print and deadly gallerinas have a brown spore print.
One Aussie's adventure. Question. I'm looking at buying a forested area and having pigs. A, will they help grow mushrooms in that kind of environment? B, I heard that running pigs in a forest can damage the forest. Thoughts? This is a long answer.
No, it's actually not.
Is it?
It depends on the breed of pigs, how you train them, how you feed them, how long you have them on like each area, like each section of land. Like if you're gonna put pigs in the forest, you need to be rotating them regularly. You need to be supplementing their feed. Certain breeds are going to be more likely to root around than others. Also, it kind of depends on your location, like where, like
seemingly Australia.
Oh, well.
With the name of one Aussie's
yes, but
adventure.
also Australia is a very large country with like different terroir. Is that correct? Is that a correct usage of that word? Like they're different, like
very diverse fauna.
Yeah. Flora and fauna, etc. So it is one of those things that it like really does depend. But I will highly recommend Old Spots because they're great. Eugene. They are like fairly easy to train. They're really smart. They are very large, which, like, you know, if they're not well trained, could be really scary. But also, we had such a great experience using those to help do some work around our farm in our forest, and I loved every minute of it.
Any tips on growing broccoli and cauliflower? Asks Budget Rides Off-Road.
It depends. Like, where, when? Are you planting from seed or from starts? Are you... Like, I mean, the best thing to do with broccoli and cauliflower is to remember that they are cold weather loving crops. So like, the one funny thing, I was like, you're not too late. In our climate 7B, our growing climate 7B, it's already too late to plant those things because if we plant them now, it's about to start getting really, really hot. And this is peak pest pressure time. So if you haven't already started with like starts and they're not already established and those things, I would say for our immediate neighbors, wait till fall and then plant them then. But yeah, that's another one that really depends.
Or the Aussie person says they're in the UK now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then Seattle
is a pretty
Seattle is a semi comparable there. And so yes, in that climate, it could potentially be it will matter way more that you rotate them frequently, that you don't get ones that are going to disrupt things too much, because the soil structure is much more compressible. Is that, yeah, anyway, it gets compacted a lot easier. Mud is a bigger issue. It tends to be a little bit like moister there. Like there's not like as warm of a summer. So like we don't have the jungle doesn't return to a jungle quite like it does in Tennessee if you overdo it or anything. So caution, but great. I love pigs. Pigs are definitely something that post-baby we will do again.
Jam asks, have you ever tried propagating by rooting cuttings from an apple tree or another fruit tree? Do you have any advice for this method?
My best advice is to watch our most recent video, Potted Fruit Trees Are a Ripoff. We talk a lot about that. The one thing is that if you're taking cuttings from a fruit tree, and this is probably more US specific. I'm not sure. I can't speak confidently about the UK or Australian things. But almost all fruit trees, especially apple varieties in the US, are actually grafted onto rootstock. So if you take a cutting and you root the cutting, you're going to get a clone of whatever was initially grafted onto the rootstock. The reason that trees are grafted onto rootstock to begin with is because, generally speaking, a better tasting fruit is grafted onto a more vigorously growing rootstock. So if you take a cutting from the tree, you're going to get an exact clone of whatever was grafted onto that rootstock. So one must ask themselves, why was that thing, like that better tasting fruit, grafted onto that rootstock to begin with? Chances are it's because this cutting is not going to be super successful as its own tree. It will want to be grafted. Like, you can use those cuttings as scions, which is a fancy way of saying like the piece that you take to graft onto other rootstock. And you can absolutely get online and buy rootstock actually fairly inexpensively and take cuttings and then graft it onto rootstock. We actually show that a little bit in that video.
What was the site that you had in the video?
Oh, Raintree Nursery is a great resource for that. We love Raintree Nursery just in general. It's a Seattle company. It's friends of ours also. But they have tons of not only like really good information on all their stuff, but they also just have like a huge variety of stuff. So we love those, but more bites out of my broom.
Oh, Eugene?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. It's really cute. And
I don't want to block the cuteness.
we'll grow more broom corn and make more brooms, so it's worth it to give her a snack.
Was that the one that you made with
Alan?
Alan, yeah, when he came out. So cool.
Yeah. I actually do. I'm going to take a quick moment while I'm shaking my chocolate milk. We got a brown cow, guys. I'm just kidding. This is goat milk with Re-Lyte so we've talked about how much I love Redmond salt. Just in general, if you're not using Redmond salt, what are you doing with your life?
Sponsor of this video.
Sponsor of this video, but also literally, this is a funny backstory that I think we've probably told 100 times now, is that I had been using Redmond products for my animals for years, and I never realized that it was the same company making the superior animal salt and other animal products that I was using that also was the salt in our kitchen. Then I found out it actually is the same company. It all comes from the same place. And basically, long story short, all salt things that you've heard about our gross white table salt that we call salt in America, like, don't eat that salt. It is going to kill you. It is bad for you, all those things. But if you get the right salt, which is made the right way, and by made the right way, I mean it's from a salt deposit from the Jurassic era, 150 million years ago, or whatever, 2000, some would say. All that to say, we love Redmond salt. That all brings me to telling you that I spent most of my young life being extremely dehydrated. And when I found out Redmond salt, the same as my animal products and my favorite kitchen salt, also made hydration products, I suddenly discovered what it was like to be well hydrated for the first time in my life. Adam's drinking my favorite.
Is that the kids one?
Yes, well, of course, I'm 5 years old and I'm never going to grow up. Adam's drinking my favorite kids Re-Lyte, which is it's pink lemonade. I'm going to just tell you, it sounds like these are going to be full of artificial flavors and everything like that, but like every single ingredient in here I would give to any person I know. And that's saying a lot because I'm much crunchier. Well, that probably doesn't surprise anyone here how crunchy I am. Anyway, this is all a very long way of saying I don't like chocolate.
Which is the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I don't really like sweet things in general. But anyway, somehow baby loves chocolate. And I was extremely skeptical when I found out that Re-Lyte made a chocolate hydration drink, and I was like, that sounds like the absolute most disgusting thing I could possibly imagine. Because first of all, can you imagine putting chocolate powder in your water and then just drinking chocolate water? Turns out that was a bit of a misunderstanding. They made it to be put in coffee and milks and things like that. So anyway, turns out baby's absolute favorite food this entire pregnancy is a nice cold glass of goat milk with Redmond hydration chocolate in it. And it's it's keto and paleo friendly. It has essential electrolytes. There's no junk in it. And again, I don't like chocolate, but this is the best chocolate milk I've ever had, and I literally cannot stop drinking it. Hilariously, I gave Sherry and Bobby from Black's Tropical Homestead some chocolate milk while they were here. I did not tell them it was goat milk prior, because that usually is a big turnoff for people. And they literally took an entire cooler of it home with them. So, just saying, best thing in the entire world. You can find Redmond animal products at Redmond Homesteader. You can find Redmond human products at Redmond Life. And the code ANNAVOLTRADES.
For both of them.
Yes, the code ANNAVOLTRADES in both places will get you a discount. And yeah, best company we've ever worked with. We absolutely love
great.
Everyone.
We really like them.
We love
good people.
The way they run their business. We love everything about their products that they have and sell. If you're a chocolate fiend, this is an actual healthy way to get some chocolate vibes in your life without any junk. Yeah.
Right.
I will also just say, I'm not a doctor. Unofficially, though, just basically paying attention to the stuff that my body needed was a huge part of being able to get pregnant and successfully stay pregnant for the first time in 12 years. So, yeah. Redmond is awesome. I think we'll do a giveaway at some point.
I'll pick for if you stick around at the end of the stream, I will pick two or three winners at random from folks who have commented. So
cool. So
stick
that's
around for that.
Yeah, we love Redmond. I don't even remember what spawned that, except for maybe I was just picking this up and taking a sip. But truly.
But you didn't like chocolate before, but now after baby you do.
Yes. Baby loves...
Also, you like documentaries all of a sudden.
That is true.
I could never get Annie to watch documentaries, but all of a sudden she's super into documentaries.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the big change there was the fact that I spent 6 months throwing up on the couch, and so I was actually in the house for the first time ever, which, gave me more opportunity to enjoy your form of entertainment. But the funny thing is, full disclosure, I actually started watching documentaries without him, and then he caught me watching one,
Yeah,
and
I
he
was
was
like,
like,
what is
this?
This is great.
We've known each other since I was 15, so like...
Well, I was having to like sneak in documentaries whenever like she wasn't there.
Yeah, when I would go on work trips, Adam would like binge watch documentaries because that was the only time he could enjoy them. Anyway, all that to say.
Anyways.
Babies changed everything already. What can we say? Yes, Jonathan Miller mentions Adam's mustache. This is also what Baby changed. I've been trying to get Adam to grow a mustache. I mean, okay, I'm from Montana. We, like, every manly man that I've ever known, like, had a mustache. And
just need a cowboy hat now.
I'm not sure that really fits your personality, but the mustache, the dad stash, I think looks really good. Also, as I just reached over and just like, I noticed the difference in color of our skin already this early in the season. It's not even summer yet. Look at us. This is the difference between an outside girl and an inside boy.
Oh, well.
We play to our strengths.
Kristen Williams asks, do you have any experience with sweet potatoes? I tried making slips a couple months ago by submerging potatoes in mason jars with water. They have roots. Been a couple of months now, but still no slips.
Interesting. Wait, is the entire potato submerged? Because that might be part of your problem. It only wants to get its feet wet. So like part of the potato wants to be above the water and part of it wants to be below the water. So like just dip the bottom part in the water. You can suspend it using like skewers, chopsticks, toothpicks. Yeah.
Pamela Garza asks, do you ever use shade cloth over your beds during the blazing hot summer?
I do not. This is a principle of lazy gardening that I don't like taking fabric on or off of my plants. And so what I do is I just replicate what happens in the forest. I pre-plan so that I have taller plants that are grown up to shade the shade-loving plants. And yeah, I plant things really close together, which helps to shade out weeds, and it also helps to keep some of those shade-loving plants in the shade where they belong. I have a lot of trellises, and so I have the grapes grow over the trellises, and then there's garden beds below them, and then all those things down, like, below them are shaded. So that saves me from having to do shade cloth.
Right. The Nest Homestead asks, homesteading here from a 2-bedroom apartment in Illinois. We have
Illinois.
We have
That's embarrassing.
We have a few 10-gallon grow bags. If you were in our beginner shoes, what would you plant right now?
If you're in Illinois, no S, I would recommend waiting a little bit to plant because it's still pretty chilly up there. But if you're looking, I mean, it really just depends. Like, are you looking for the most adventure for your buck, or the the greatest number of poundage? Because that sounds weird, but like, potatoes grow great in grow bags, and you can get an enormous amount of potatoes from one bag. I just sounded like Montana. That was my Montana coming out, bag. But yeah. And then, like, I am the world's biggest proponent of planting what you actually eat, because yeah, there's like, I mean, I love potatoes a lot, so that's probably why I recommend that. But yeah, I would probably plant potatoes because I love potatoes. I also love watermelon. Watermelon grows great in grow bags. But it's actually especially great because you can let the plant spread out infinitely and just have the feet in the soil where they belong. But also, full disclosure, I didn't spend a lot of my childhood in the U.S., so I don't actually know a ton about like geography. Is Illinois hot in the summer to grow watermelon? I might be giving poor advice. Isn't that the one that looks like a shoe?
What?
Illinois. It looks like a boot.
I don't know. You're testing my geography.
I should be able to test your geography. Did you know that Adam is a world champion GeoGuessr player? Which
I'm not a world champion, but I'm pretty decent.
Adam can find like a photograph of some random thing within like 20 miles anywhere on Earth within a few moments. It's ridiculous.
It's a fun party trick. While we're waiting for some more questions, if anybody has any, Annie, do you want to talk about the goose?
Oh, okay. So, we never expect that anyone has watched all of our videos by
Just as a development on the farm.
Yes, but we did recently make a video. Well, the video that we made announcing the pregnancy also talked about how we had been doing a lot of downsizing animal-wise. Our neighbor, Maymay, age 4, is taking over the chicken business, but the attack goose was a little too much for her to take on because it was the same size as her and it terrified her. So, all that to say, Maymay didn't take the goose, so the only bird that's left on the farm for this current season is the goose. And here's the goose, when it no longer had chickens to protect, started flying into like the goat pen and attacking the goats and like generally causing mayhem. And I have livestock guardian dogs, and so the livestock guardian dogs had previously been fine with all the birds, all the the goose, everything, but obviously when the goose is literally pecking at the thing that they're supposed to be protecting, they got mad about it. So like I had to save this goose from Johnny's talons multiple times, but somehow in that one day there was just a shift and the goose decided that it is now top dog on the farm. And the goose now literally patrols the donkeys, much larger and more powerful than a goose. The dogs, again, much larger and more powerful than a goose. Lucy, like she tells every single animal on the farm when they can eat, where they can go, like what they can and cannot be doing, and all of them listen to her. She, like, you should see the way she goes after Howdy the donkey. He'll be like trying to kick her away, but she like comes and continuously nips at his little tushy. And like she is now top dog on the farm, and it is so funny because like I mean yesterday I watched her kick Lucy out of Lucy's house. Like she wanted
alpha right now.
Yeah, she wanted Lucy's house for some reason, and so she literally goes inside and like there's a whole kerfuffle, and Lucy the pig comes walking out, and like then the goose nestles down in Lucy's house for a little while, and then Lucy's just like walking around being like, what do I do with my life now?
The funny thing to me is that the goose literally is like on patrol, like a prison guard all day, just going back and forth, doing the rounds, and making sure everybody on the farm is in line. Like, it's hilarious. It's very funny.
And this is also just like a kind of funny side effect of like, you know, we've had some big swings of extremes on the farms, especially since we moved here. But like, we've gone from like having, you know, a handful of animals to having a ton of animals, and then now like kind of swinging back the other way. And so one really fun side effect of anytime we kind of swing back to like, hey, let's cut things down, or let's like pare things down to like the bare minimum or whatever, like what I like to call the all-stars, you get to see the animals' like personalities in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. And I'm not a fan of anthropomorphization, however that's actually said, like when you know, impart humanisms onto animals, because animals are animals. But I will say that when you have like 4 chickens, for example, those chickens tend to have a much more interesting personality than when you have 400. And trust me, I know the difference. And like, anyway, so it's like really funny because we only have 4 goats, we have 2 dogs, we have the alpacas actually haven't left. There's like a longer story that actually has to do with the bird flu, ironically, there, but yeah. Adam's ready to move on, so we're moving on.
Yeah, so Elsa Suilo asks, just starting to lazy garden. I really don't have compost. I did use sticks for the bottom. I have plenty of leaves to use. Can I mix the leaves with mulch and then use manure, then a layer of soil?
Oh, yeah, totally. In fact, I would recommend it because one thing is if you're using like uncomposted stuff in the bottom parts of your bed to, you know, add matter, it is actually really helpful to have some uncomposted stuff that's a little bit further down, because the weight of whatever's on top of it will cause that composting process, Eugene, to happen a little bit faster and more completely. But also, as long as you have enough of a layer of soil on top for the plants to get started and to start forming their root system, then that gives the manure and those things below a little bit more time to decompose. But then by the time those roots actually start kind of going down in that, the manure and things probably are no longer too hot, if you will, which just means there's too much nitrogen, and they probably will be fine. So if you watch our Start a Lazy Garden from Scratch video, I am not sure if I actually really articulated this really clearly, but I put brand new uncomposted chicken manure at the very bottom of my bed, knowing full well that you would never put chicken manure up close to your plants because it would burn every single one of them. But because I knew that the roots of the bed that I was building would have time to go through the soil below, it was totally fine. And I mean, quick callback to the question about cold gardening, that's actually a great way to get a couple extra degrees of heat in your garden earlier in the growing season. So that'll help your seeds germinate. Great way to go.
Another compost related question from Jonathan Woodward. If the compost doesn't seem to be activating / getting hot, do I need to add water to the pile from time to time?
It depends. There's every question is it depends. But if you're not getting heat in your pile, either there's not enough weight. There's a reason that we say a 3 foot by 3 foot tall pile is recommended, and that's because you literally need a fair amount of pressure on top of your pile to be able to get it to compost. But the 3 things that are most often wrong with your compost pile are that there's not enough weight on top. You can actually circumvent that by putting it in a cylinder. If you don't have 3 feet by 3 feet of things to compost, you can put it in a cylinder and just put stuff on top of the cylinder so that you're piling it up higher, so at least there's a bunch of weight on top. The next problem is that it's not wet enough. So to his point, maybe you need to water it down. However, you don't want to get it too wet where it creates an anaerobic or an airless environment. Otherwise, it's just going to putrefy. It's not going to actually decompose. And then the other thing that is often an issue is there's not a proper ratio of carbon browns to nitrogen greens. And so if you've tried wetting down your pile, and nothing happens in a day or two, the next thing I'd recommend is go to your local coffee shop or something and ask them for some spent coffee grounds. Put those on top, or use grass clippings from your lawnmower or from your local lawn service. If there's landscapers in your area, you can just stop them and ask them if you can have the stuff in their bags. That sounds weird, but they're lawnmower bags. Yeah.
Pamela Garza asks, can I use spent hay, aka stomped on and pooped on by goats and pigs? I don't know if you know, as a lower layer in the lazy garden?
Absolutely. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Oh.
Yeah. The one thing you want to be careful of anytime you're using hay that hasn't been actually composted is that you if your hay, you want to make sure you have hay that's not been sprayed with pre-emergence or broadleaf pesticide, because that will cause an issue with your plants to actually your beans and especially to germinate well. But as long as it's assuming that it's clean hay, etc., that is actually a fantastic layer for the bottom. The other thing besides potential pesticide contamination that you do want to watch out for is hay and straw both tend to have a lot of seeds in them. So if you are going to put them at the bottom layer, be aware that you might get some grass shoots coming up. So you either need to chop it, be prepared to chop and drop, or just layer them down deep enough that those grass seeds won't have enough space to come up and
What plants, tools, or flowers are needed to keep away pests? Audrey asks.
We have a whole video called something about garden pests.
Get rid of pests in the garden.
The lazy way.
The lazy way.
And that video covers a lot of the things that I'd recommend there. Also, the video that we have coming up has a lot of info about companion planting, like which plants you can plant together to help remediate pest pressure.
There's a new question that just came in. Whatchamacallit Homestead 1 asks, I have fig cuttings in my greenhouse that have new growth. What is the next step to get them transplanted in the ground or larger pots? I am in the deep south area.
Oh, great. The next step is just like, if you think, if you're just seeing new growth, you want to like let them chill a little bit, because like you need them to put out roots, because oftentimes, depending on when you cut your cutting and when you stuck it in the ground and things, it could potentially just be using the energy that was stored in the cutting to put off that new growth. You want to make sure you give it enough time to create roots. And so then when you do go and transplant it, like even if you're not 100% sure that it's, that it actually has roots or whatever, just be super, super, super gentle, because those cuttings have really, really tiny hair roots that can be easily broken or disturbed. But as long as you're careful and you take enough of the surrounding soil with it when you transplant it, the next step is, just either put it in a bigger pot or put it where it's into its forever home.
Linda asks, can I plant starts in toilet rolls through the soaked cardboard to access existing soil in new LG?
Yes, that is a great method to get your seeds to germinate and to like make it easy to transplant. And if you don't know that method already, highly recommend looking it up on YouTube University. It's a great hack. Actually, hilariously, it was one of the hacks we were going to show in our seed germination video that didn't make the cut. It got wiped out, if you will. That's a toilet paper joke.
What's going on in your garden right now, Eddie?
That's a great question. Adam caught me having a little sexy time with my pawpaw tree. I had gone out during my lunch break the other day and pranced around the forest with my little pollination brush, which is basically just like a Anne Frank paintbrush and a little sandwich baggie. And I collected the pollen of a bunch of different unrelated pawpaw plants, and then I was out in the garden using that pollen to pollinate my pawpaw. I'm going to be the proud baby daddy of so many pawpaws this year. So that's really exciting. Also, I did put on a little berry white, which is probably why he came out there in the first place. But anyway, I feel like it helps. I have like thousands and thousands of baby peaches on my peach tree. My very famous 3.5 million view peach tree. That's a reference to our "You're Probably Killing Your Fruit Trees" pruning video. Anyway, that peach tree has about 10,000 baby peaches on it, and I couldn't possibly be more excited. We have just entered peak strawberry season, so we're picking 1 to 3 gallons of strawberries per day of the best strawberries you could ever eat. It's asparagus season. Those who know how much I love plant genetics and animal genetics and genetics of all kinds and playing God a little bit, know that I've been trying to grow the largest, fattest, yet softest and most succulent asparagus stalk. And we may or may not break a record this year. They've been real girthy this year.
Last year was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember in our spring garden tour last year.
Yeah, we had one that was like over 2 inches thick. That was, I mean, I need a new word besides girthy, because this is a family channel, but like.
Yeah, no.
Adam's like, change the subject immediately.
When is the baby due? How about that?
June.
Okay.
June. Baby's
yeah.
due in June. We're so excited. Like, we're actually allowing ourselves to get excited. We kind of like, you know, anytime you've dealt with fertility issues and miscarriages and those kinds of things, like, we kind of like had this like, I mean, we always want to like celebrate the good and like celebrate every day that it is good, but we had like this like kind of pact that we're like at 32 weeks we can be like
feel pretty good
about it, and we do, and we're getting really excited. This feels like an unpaid advertisement here.
What, Apple?
How dare you?
I think
this is Adam's ancient iPad. He's had this
I don't think this is going to tip somebody into buying an Apple product.
I would. You never know.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me about this office that we're in? This has been updated quite a bit.
Yeah, well,
since we saw each last.
Yeah, since we all saw each other last, I feel like I'm constantly working on, you know, any space that I'm in, because I'm really into environment design. We want to, like, you know, knowing who we are, we want to make things work for us instead of work against us. And so I'm always, you know, I'm obsessed with time tracking and step tracking and efficiency counting and things like that, because life is short and I want to get the most that I possibly can out of it. All that to say that, like, this office has seen many different iterations over the time that the last 5 years that I've spent in it. And one of the things that I like really, really wanted to do pre-baby was to, like, get things really aesthetically nice. My favorite color is green. We, like, got this painted. We, like, redid the trim, which, like, I mean, the last major remodel I did is I had to replace that back wall because the AC unit that was here previously had, like, leaked everywhere and rotted out the wall. So, like, I still hadn't, like, repainted or fixed the trim or anything. And so everything is looking really nice. That's great. But the other really cool thing that I've kind of been picking away at for the last 2 years is building a room upstairs, which is now, like, we're now turning it into, like, a baby room / just, like, we might have it be a podcasting studio or something at some point, but it's very, very cool. I can't actually take you and show you any of it, but I can tell you that we have been laughing about, like, a funny anism, which is my lack of measuring skills in math. So I put in this secret door to go up to what will now be the baby room. And I didn't understand how the door hardware worked prior to installing it. Like, literally the whole thing was built, and I didn't realize my error of my ways until I presented it to the hole. And then I realized that my 22-inch door opening, because the way the hardware works, was in fact only a 9-inch door opening. So throughout this pregnancy, we've been measuring how far I am in the pregnancy with, like, how I can still fit through the door. And I will tell you, it's getting pretty tight. So I can still do it.
Someday you're just gonna get stuck in there.
But it is quite small. So that's a funny anism for everyone there. And also, if you ever come, you'll know that there's a secret hayloft, like, wonderland up there that is not a secret anymore. Anyway, so that's, yeah. And huge thanks again. I think we mentioned that Rob and Papa Chad had come down and helped with that a lot. And so we're so thankful for them doing that, because I'm really, really great at starting projects and taking them to, like, 90% done or usable and then leaving them in that state. But of all the places that it's really not helpful for me to have an ongoing project, the office is not a good place for me to have an ongoing project.
No.
Because so much of our life, well, my life on, like, the stuff that I do for the business happens in this space, and I really, really need it. Like, for example, the boards that I use to manage my schedule and my task management and all that stuff, like, having those, like, in a pile on the floor for a month and a half was not great. I missed,
Yeah.
like, I've learned to use them so well that, like, without them, I really, really floundered.
Yeah.
I missed a couple kind of important deadlines, but that's okay.
Any suggestions on fertilizer for my citrus trees in pots? Asked Laura Chastain.
10 out of 10 would recommend getting a house bunny like Eugene and then using her
There it is.
litter box, droppings, which from a rabbit are not hot and are great little nitrogen pellets to put directly into your plants. If that's not an option, I would also recommend, like, you can, we are going to actually, hopefully this, like, fairly soon make another video about making liquid fertilizer for indoor plants and for hydroponics type stuff. But if you watch my Weeds Are Good video, you can get a kind of taste. That's saying taste is a bad thing because it's like putrid weeds sitting in a like anaerobic stinky bucket of water. But that's how I make like fertilizer for a lot of things. You can, like, ChatGPT, it turns out, is a fantastic resource for folks that haven't memorized textbooks of information about what weeds and what plants offer what nutrients. But if you ask ChatGPT, like, which plants could I collect and put into a 5-gallon bucket and let putrefy in the sun for a little while so that I can use it as fertilizer for my plants, it will provide a mostly factual answer. I've found 9 times out of 10, I, as a dentist, would recommend what it says. Not a very good dentist, but...
Whoa.
Eugene's reorganizing.
Yeah.
Yep, that's happening.
Thank you for the very generous super chat, Jeremy Johnstone.
Oh, Jeremy, always there with the...
He says, fiddlesticks. All because of Adam, I feel unnaturally compelled to pay for apples.
Is that a callback to my story about Adam buying, like, those. Okay, never mind. One time right after we first got married, when we were, like, dead broke, I asked Adam to stop by and pick up some apples, but he, like, apparently had never shopped in his life for produce or something before.
I'll go with it.
I don't know what, like, I mean, literally just, like, I don't
want to let the truth get in the way of a good story, so keep going.
I would never not let the truth get in I would never not tell the truth for the sake of a good story. Maybe you should tell this story. Anyway, the punchline of this story is that one of our first, like, silly fights in our marriage was because we were, like, literally barely able to pay our bills, and Adam spent $25
That's true.
on 3 Honeycrisp apples when I asked him to stop and pick up apples at the market. And I was like, what happened? He's like, they're organic.
No, it was like I didn't realize I paid that much until, like, I had left the store.
Oh, okay, well, okay.
And I was like, I don't know, I'm not going to go, I didn't want to go return.
But also, like, might I remind you all that we're not spring chickens, so, like, this was a long time ago. So, like, I could understand in this economy how, like, maybe someone would spend $25 on apples, but, like, back then, that was, like, our weekly grocery budget.
It was a mistake.
But anyway, we're not mad about it. It's a funny story, and we're still together, so here we are.
Yes. Yeah. How about, why don't you tell us about articles that you're writing right now?
Oh, sure. So one, like, I've kind of, like, with a lot of these things, I'm like, I was on the cover of a popular woodworking magazine called Popular Woodworking 6 years ago, and I was like, oh, I think I've peaked, because that's probably, like, as good as it gets for my writing career. But I was just asked to participate in the 10th anniversary of edition of the Mortis and Tenon magazine, which was, like, a huge honor. I mean, some of my heroes are in that magazine. My article is, like, next to Wendell Berry's, which is, like, unreal to me. So that was really cool. We're like doing the final cuts for that right now. The cohort that we've been doing for the time management thing for my productivity book is going amazing. We've only got a couple weeks left in that, and that's been pretty fun. I'm just finishing another article for Homestead Living magazine. I've been a fairly regular contributor to that. And those are, Mortison and Tendon magazine is like, it's not like, I don't know, it's not like clicky or anything, but it's like kind of highbrow. So like that was a pretty big honor, especially because I haven't, been doing as much like publicly in the woodworking community. That was like really cool to be asked to do that. So.
One thing a lot of people probably don't know about Annie is, well, they might know if they follow her on Instagram, is she's a very good writer.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm always super impressed.
Thanks.
By the articles that you write.
I would take that compliment because it's something that I had to work really, really hard to do because, like, as some of you may know, I'm, like, severely dyslexic, and writing was always, like, my mom had to help me cheat through school to be able to get through school because I could barely read and write. So, like, it's a big deal now to be able to write for things, to, like, the thought of hopefully having a published book by this time next year is like a wild thing. If everything went perfectly swimmingly, we would have it like on holiday offer. But like that, with baby being so close and like with we don't really, like with so many unknowns, like we don't know if we'll quite get there, but like that would be a dream. Anyway, yeah, like the thought of being a published author, having had the struggles that I've had is like a big deal.
Totally. Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
Easy question to answer. I see Pio2D Max just said, what's your favorite fruit to grow? And the answer is a lot of them. Whatever I happen to be thinking about in the moment is my favorite of like basically anything that I'm ever talking about, actually. But tops are watermelon is my favorite food, except for beef, and okra. And I love watermelon of all kinds. But like, I was actually, even when I lived in Asia, I was known as Watermelon Girl. Like a lot of people called me Watermelon Girl because I would be seen every day walking home from the market with my daily watermelon.
Wait, where was this? In Montana?
No, in Asia. Like
do you know what they called me when I was in Vietnam?
Is this appropriate to share?
Pepsi boy.
Oh, okay. That's actually not surprising. When I met Adam, he drank, what's the big, not like the human ones that you drink, but the big ones of cola?
Like a 2-liter.
Okay, he would drink a 2-liter of Diet Coke every single day.
No, it's not true.
That is true.
No,
Adam,
no.
I had never seen you drink water.
That's not
Full
true.
disclosure, I also never drank water, but it wasn't because I was drinking Coke or Pepsi or whatever. Anyway.
I wouldn't say every day, but I
So
drank,
you were Pepsi boy and I was Watermelon Girl?
Yeah.
Well, they're match made in heaven, I guess.
I don't think I ever told you that.
That is really funny.
Anyways, I stopped drinking soda when I was like 22. Completely.
Is that a fact? Uh-huh. When did you graduate from college? You were still drinking Coke when you finished college.
Like right after college, I stopped it.
There you go.
Unless it has like whiskey in it, then I don't drink soda.
Excellent. All right.
And that's pretty rare.
Excellent.
Just to be clear.
And then the other things, like the other favorite fruits are pawpaws. Someday I will hopefully be able to say bananas and mangoes, but currently like also peaches. And I think that kind of covers the favorite fruits.
Well, this is a good question. Daniel Gary's, do both of you miss Washington State at all? New sub here. Thank you, Daniel. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. We're so excited you're here.
Good question. So we did actually, I think you talked about earlier, we did just visit the old farm in Washington. And we talked about this a little in the videos, but...
So that will be upcoming. But hilariously, right before we started the live, I asked Adam if we should talk about like how we both kind of had the revelation while we were in Washington that we were like both really, really glad that we left. But it's not not putting any hate on Washington itself. It's just literally, though we've had a lot of ups and downs since we came to Tennessee, like there were so many things that happened on that trip and even have happened in the last several weeks since we got back that were just like confirmation after confirmation that we moved at the right time and we absolutely landed in the right place. I mean, like, actually the Blacks were asking us this weekend, if we could move anywhere, where would we move? And I was like, I wouldn't, because we wouldn't, if we moved, we wouldn't be able to end up with like Tyler and Eric as neighbors, like Tyler's who I do my dairy business with, like we wouldn't, have ended up in this neighborhood with the neighbors that we have. We wouldn't have ended up like on this piece of property, which like presents its own challenges, but like also, there's just like so many things that
it's getting better and better every month, though. I think we're making progress on this property for sure.
Yeah, and as things, like it's always easier to like feel good about things when things are going well as opposed to like falling apart everywhere you look. And so that has definitely helped. But yeah, we love it here. And there's aspects of gardening in Washington that will, like, again, we just made a video about this, so like you can see it there. But like there's aspects of gardening in Washington that I absolutely miss. Like, holy moly, was I not like appreciative of how easy it was to grow things there as opposed to here. But hilariously, a lot of the things that I actually really, really like growing here are way easier. So like, I mean, I do like a hot pepper challenge every year. I grow like really, really hot peppers and do hot sauce. And like in Washington, I had to baby those peppers along. My two favorite things to grow are, well, like watermelon and okra. And again, I don't think I ever successfully got a watermelon. I got like other melons and things, but I don't think I ever successfully got a watermelon in Washington. And I did get okra, but I would have to grow it in the greenhouse, and I'd be lucky if I got like 7 little pieces of okra from each plant. And here, halfway through the gardening season, I'm picking my okra from a ladder. Like, so, good.
Black's Tropical Homestead asks, do you know the name of your favorite watermelon?
There's too many to count because like my favorite is the one that I'm eating in the moment, except for this one, like, absolutely putrid tasting, like, gross one that I want to say it was orange. And I grew it because I was like, oh, it makes orange watermelon. It was disgusting, and I don't remember what it was. But I love sugar babies because they're little and they, you can eat it. You can eat like 3 of them in one day, which is great. I mean, again, might I remind everyone, Watermelon Girl, I used to eat a 15-pound watermelon every single day. That's how before Redmond's, before I started drinking water that actually tastes good, I had never like consumed water in a regular way, and so I literally would eat a 15-pound watermelon, and that's how I stayed hydrated living in a tropical climate, and that felt normal to me. So here we are now.
I see throughout the chat I've gotten like a lot of like zone specific questions about things, and I've skipped over some of them because I feel like it's like super specific stuff. But this one, Budget Rides Off Road says, in Michigan, what's the best time to plant hot peppers? So maybe if you want to just talk about growing hot pepper. No, just talk about growing hot peppers.
Well, it's hard, so like I don't like ever like talking about things that I can't speak confidently about, like as if I'm spewing facts.
Yeah.
Because I've never gardened in Michigan aside from helping my friend Jenny with some stuff at her house. So that but I can tell you that the best time to plant peppers is actually like if you plant a pepper plant too early in the season, before like basically before like summer equinox, June 21st, you are like very likely to have a stunted plant or a plant that's going to be really struggle to have issues with pests and disease and other things like that. So like the best time to plant is to plant a well-established start after, you know, like I mean, here in Tennessee we would do that like, you know, mid-May or late May, but truly I don't ever feel like I'm behind with anything in the garden here until it's after June 1st. And that's saying a lot because, you know, we technically can start fairly confidently gardening. I mean, like our last frost date is usually April 7th. And so in theory, we could start gardening and start a lot of things really early in the season. But one joke that I make often in my videos is a true thing that I literally used to love, mostly because my dark sense of humor. Like I used to love going to like nurseries and stuff on the first sunny day, and I would watch people proudly walk out with all of their little vegetable starts, and I'm like, see you back here in a couple weeks once those fail. Oh my gosh, Eugene just jumped onto the... What is going on, you little acrobat?
Do you think she can get off?
Well, we'll find out. We'll all sit here with bated breath to see what she does now that she's up there.
She's gotten really good recently of climbing up on things, but she doesn't know how to climb down. Because they don't have great
depth perception.
So, like, she gets afraid and then she's stuck.
She's so brave. She's sitting, like, well, I don't think she thought about this very well because, like, she's balanced on a tiny piece of wood that's, like, not secure under her feet right now. Oh, this is very cute. I'm really into this. Also, she has a shaving stuck to her face. Earlier, right before the live started, she like somehow found a piece of painter's tape and like had it stuck to her face because I guess I missed a piece of trim tape when I was taking the stuff off from painting, and it was really cute, but we got it off.
I feel like we can't do anything until this is resolved. Like she's just stuck.
I mean, we're all here. It's like, you know, when your dog like falls asleep and like puts its face on your shoe and you can't stand up until your dog wakes up naturally. Is that a problem for anyone else?
I feel like this stream has just come to a standstill. Like as we wait the outcome of Eugene stuck up there.
I mean, I'm ready to be here for 48 hours if that's what it takes.
Can we do a rescue?
I mean, we could, but also she doesn't look like to be in distress. I'm really into it. It's so cute. I seriously, like, I mean, I know I've already said that, but like one of the impeti, it's not a word, but one of the reasons that we decided upon Eugene being a house bunny was because as I was like so sick throughout my pregnancy and like just, you know, vomiting into a bucket from the couch for months on end, Adam was like, what's one way that we could make you, like, help you enjoy the house a little bit more? Because truly, I mean, like in real life, non-babyhood, non-hand injury, all that stuff, I really don't spend very much time in the house at all. And I was like, well, maybe if Woo! Wow, she did it. To end that story, I was like, maybe if I got, like, you know, an animal that I really enjoyed that lived inside the house. And so Eugene, I think we told the story of how Eugene came to being last time, so we don't need to retell it.
What kind of bunny is Eugene?
Eugene is a lion-head dwarf that has lineage going back to over 12 years ago when I started breeding. When I started really getting into animal genetics, I got obsessed with the idea of creating like absolutely useless animals like Eugene. But she's not useless. By the way, I have collected so much fluff for her eventual sweaters. Oh, she's washing her hands. She's a very clean little lady. I brush her very regularly to collect fluff, and it can be mixed with alpaca to create yarn on my spinning wheel. The other side effect, or like the other thing that led to Eugene being in the house is like when Adam and I had agreed to get rid of the alpacas, I was like, well, I still need a fiber animal. So this is how we're like, oh, we could maybe have a Eugene and we could combine her fur with the alpaca fur that we have still. stored, and so that's been happening. I've gotten a lot of good advice from other people who are interested in fiber about how to better collect her fluff. Check back in 10 years to see how her sweater is doing.
POD Max asks, do you have any tips on growing white peaches or figs?
White peaches specifically, it would depend on where you're at, but like I would say that most peach specific stuff would apply. Yeah, healthy soil is going to help you regardless. Figs, I have had significantly higher success with fig bushes rather than fig trees, and like a variety of fig that I've literally seen thrive all over the world is Chicago hardy figs. They're really easy to propagate. They're great. I love how you're so concerned with making sure people can see Eugene. I mean, she really is a star.
I mean, they'd much rather see the bunny than my face.
Well, even the mustache, though, speaking of a fiber animal.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Fiber animal. That's funny.
Also, Eugene is, no one, I forgot to mention, when someone was asking about my favorite fruit, I also love growing rhubarb, and I will tell you really quickly that, like, a side shoot of the story that we tell in the video. I smuggled back some rhubarb from my rhubarb forest in Washington, and when, not surprisingly, I got stopped by TSA, and they searched all of our luggage because they're like, what is this? And this very, very precious TSA agent who was from Nigeria said, what is this? Because like it looked very suspicious. I mean, it was literally just like wrapped in hundreds of layers of cellophane as I tried to conceal it. and he was like, what is this? And I was like, it's the root of a rhubarb plant. And I was like, I visited my hometown and we're about to have a baby, and I was like trying to use all the excuses. I was like, I wanted to bring some from our hometown back and plant it in our new home for our baby. And he's like, oh my stars, the root of a rhubarb plant? This is certainly the most exciting thing I've seen in the airport today. Take it and be blessed. And so now we've planted the rhubarb, and this all comes to fruition, if you will, talking about Eugene, because the secret to success with rhubarb, not that anyone asked, is using rabbit poo to fertilize your rhubarb. And boy howdy, is that rhubarb that we smuggled back in our luggage thriving, thanks to Eugene and her perfect potty behavior. Still to this day, not a single misplaced turd.
Super generous super chat from Allie3613. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Allie. Also, I just, right below that read someone's saying something about you being a fiber animal, and I'm laughing about that.
Fiber animal.
I will definitely say that my only complaint about Adam's mustache is that, like, the mustache trimmings are everywhere. I am a real fan of a small vacuum, and so I've strongly considered giving Adam his very own vacuum for his fiber.
I'm a fiber animal, what can I say?
Yeah, just prolific, apparently.
All right, so I think we could probably wind this
Wind it up. Okay, great. That's like on that note, Adam being a fiber animal.
But we do have some winners.
Oh, great. So Adam has, at random, selected some Redmond.
Semi-randomly selected.
And just as a general reminder for everyone who's really disappointed if they don't win, stay tuned though, in case you did, that you can find Redmond products on Redmond Life. They have not just hydration products, they have, personal beauty, health, salts, like, man, we use the heck out of some like Redmond flavored salts. We're brining a brisket, which we forgot to cook with the blacks while they were here. We're brining a brisket with Redmond's brine right now that's like phenomenal. And if you want to try Redmond stuff, use the code AnnofAllTrades at checkout and you will get a discount. That's Ann with an E of all trades.
And that's for Redmond salts.
Redmond
Life.
Redmond Life or Redmond Agriculture.
That's correct.
So yes, drum roll.
Super excited. So I picked 3 winners, and what you'll need to do after is just email me after the live stream at marketing@annofalltrades.com.
Marketing@annofalltrades.com. So if you don't email us, you won't get your winnings. So make sure you email us.
So Wabi Sabi is the first winner.
Wabi Sabi.
The second.
Oh! Are you kidding me?
What?
Literally, Wabi Sabi was just saying, please.
That's
awesome. Oh my gosh. Great. Love that.
The second winner is Kristen Williams.
Amazing.
And the third winner is Pamela Garza.
Awesome. So please email us marketing@annwithane.alltrades.com.
We're just like the Australian twins.
Wait, let's do that again. Annofalltrades.
No.
Oh, wait.
Marketing@annofalltrades.com.
Excellent. Great.
We'll have to work on our impression.
Also, I did suggest that I do this entire live stream in my Australian accent, which Adam really doesn't like. And he told me that I could not, and that we probably would have really low viewership, and that we might offend someone. But you never know.
You never know. This was fun.
It was really fun. Thank you all so much for being here. We love all of you so much, and we appreciate you sharing your time and your attention with us. We cannot wait to give further updates next month about baby boy and his... Oh, wait, one thing. Someone did ask, a lot of people have asked for, more details about the pregnancy and things like that, like details about the baby. We found out a really funny statistic about him that's I know this is gonna, I know some people will be concerned and probably please don't give us health advice, we don't want it. But, so the baby's head.
Oh, I was bracing myself.
What did you think I was going to talk about?
I don't know.
Oh, the baby's head is in the 89th percentile, and the rest of his body is in the 49th percentile. Which, as we are laughing about that, it's he's totally healthy. Everything has been great throughout the whole pregnancy. We get to see him again on Tuesday in another thing. But anyway, it's just, they're don't be concerned. This this happened. But anyway, we're his enormous head, and this has been a joke that's gone on because Adam's dad used to always make jokes about how huge Adam's head was. And marrying someone who's 5'3" with shoes on, marrying someone who's 6'3" without shoes on, is always cause for concern when it comes to reproducing. And so I was really worried that it was going to be an enormous baby. Actually, he's not. He's totally normal size, except for his enormous head. And this is Adam's dad used to literally call him Gary Payton, which I think is a sports reference or something, oh, that Gary Payton head. Anyway, so of all the things, he's not really tall like Adam, thank God. He's not bulky in any way except for his enormous head. So that's
love it.
Yeah. On that note, we'll see you all in the next video, which should be coming out very shortly, right? You're almost done with it.
Should be coming out this week.
Great. Well, we will see you there.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Have a
everyone.
great night. Bye.